Hello. Okay. All right. Good. All right. This is all set up. Making it. See if I can get my new camera is set up now. See if it's set up here. No. Me copy. Paste it here. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, that's up close and personal. Okay, a new camera, so I can move this around. It's wireless. Could show you the stuff a lot easier a little bit. Whoa! And show you the coffee roasting setup. I should put another roaster on top of here. I'm actually cleaning out my garage. So, yeah. Anyways, let's put this back up. Yeah, now I have like a portable little. I had this Mevo camera for a while, so now I'm a little bit excited that I can finally use it. Anyways, so today, it's going to be just a simple M1 Lite install on a Hibean. I'll make it short and sweet. I don't want to talk too much about stuff, but initially what you're going to do is you're going to set up Hibean on an M1 Lite. Should work the same way as the M1. All you really need is just an Android tablet. Unfortunately, they do not work with they don't work with iPads or iOS at all right now. Mostly because they use classic Bluetooth, I think SPP or SSP, I forget what it's called, but it's a class. It uses the classic Bluetooth to connect. So it's a lot different from Bluetooth Low Energy, which Apple requires if they wanted to use as a serial to connect to like the roaster. It requires using the BLE protocol. So unfortunately, there's a workaround for it. The Skywalker had the same issue. Skywalker V2 had the same issue, but the community found a workaround for that. So we eventually got the iOS folks on there. So that'll probably be the next thing for the M1 Lite as soon as I get time to do the code. And have Bear help me with that as well. Anyways, so we'll just start this off. Probably gonna cut a lot of sections out too. So let me get this started up. Anyways, so as you know, you'll need an Android tablet for this to work. Any kind of really any like the cheapest tablet at Best Buy works, which was the M8 Tab for me at the time. So you can use the M8 Tab and I use that as a dedicated iBeam controller. So here it is. We'll go back on here. So you want to go to the Google Store, pick up the Hibeam app. Right now the beta is the only one that works for Hibeam on the M1 Lite now. I think there's some bugs or issues with the current version, but then it's being updated soon, so you don't have to worry about that too much. So we'll go ahead. I'll show you how to just set that up. So it's pretty simple. Just start up the app, hit the add sign, kind of look for all the Kaleido M1. So you got the whole series here: the M1, M2, M6, and M10. The most recent one should have an M Lite option, so you hit M Lite, M1 Lite. Give it a minute. Sometimes it takes a little bit, so you gotta and sometimes it won't detect it, and you have to back out and then go back in and try again. Sometimes they'll do that, so you just go back and forth until it pops up again. Sometimes you just need a rescan or hit rescan. There it goes. All right, so when you're looking for it, you want to look for something called the Roaster SR6V6. That is the thing you want to look for when you're looking up the M1 Lite, and it's the same thing with the M1. You want to hit there, add. it a little bit. Sometimes they'll do that, so you just gotta hit retry and then reconnect. Bluetooth is kind of finicky sometimes. I don't have that as much issues with BLE. Oh, board. Okay, so we paired it successfully. So now we're gonna hit complete. So it should look like this. You'll know you're connected because this top left side with the Bluetooth symbol says you're connected. But if you're not, you can always tap that until it says connected again. So it might say like disconnected or something. If you want to, you could go look around through some of the device settings. You could rename this. So what I would usually do is I'd just rename that M1 Lite. M1 Lite. Good. And you can kind of see there's classic Bluetooth SPP is what it's called. And then other settings you want to mess around with. Some people like to turn off high temp jump protection. I keep it on just for safety. And yeah. So we could hit back in there. You want to go to device. Usually when you first start it up, you might see like this blank screen. Especially right here where it says default profile. So you could switch in case you want to use a different profile. I have a bunch of different default profiles. So but not for the M1 Lite, for the Skywalker. So they'll load up different default ones. So you could, choose that one. And then if you want to choose a reference curve, you could find one in the community if you want to look through, find the same bean. Don't use that as like a strict way of copying a roast of the same bean. It's kind of just like a guide to see what kind of heat changes that occurred and how they kind of like manage their heat and airflow. It's not a hit automatic roasting settings and then run it. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it could, but it just, it doesn't work. Every little scenario when you're roasting that same beam in different places will be RR, turning point. A lot of other things might change, so not everything could be the same. But they're just good, like low profiles you could have in the background to see what you want. What you want to like try accomplishing. But in my case, I kind of don't like using it. I like it with no reference curve setup on my first roast with the new machine, just to see how it reacts. You also could do automations if you want to as well. You can look through these. There's basically it triggers when you can create automations to trigger at certain times, whether they be global or profile specific. So if you want a profile to do this certain thing at that time or whatever, either time or by being temperature to put a fan up by whatever, then it could do that as well. Or globally, if you want all your roasts to do the same thing. There's a bunch of settings you get into, and I just don't want to go into that any further because it'll take all day. So we'll hit start manual roasting. Everything should show up. Your BT and ET should be around the same temperature. If you see it like way off, like, oh, that's not how it really is in Celsius, it might be, it's because it's in Fahrenheit. So you might have to like, what sometimes you have to do is if you see it like in Fahrenheit, but it might try roasting using those Fahrenheit values, but thinks it's Celsius. So sometimes you might have to go back, go here, go to settings, and then switch temperature to Fahrenheit, go back out, and then switch it back to Celsius. You sometimes might have to do that, but not necessarily all the time. If it's thinking it's at Fahrenheit right now. So anyways, we'll go to device. Right now you could put in your coffee bean that you're thinking of putting in. So that's one thing you need to do first is it's probably a good idea to add what kind of coffee bean you're using. So for here, I would just go, I'm going to add manually. They're adding more features like AI recognition, which is kind of neat. It just takes a picture of the label, copies whatever those values are, and then tries to put them in those boxes. It's a little, it's a neat feature when you're in a rush. you could do things like, this is from Peru, and you look it up here. And then if you have like Sweet Maria, you can usually just hit that tag and then just fill all this stuff out. I'm just gonna fill out this just stuff in general, and you can also do it later and give it a name, give it something you want to call it. So I'm gonna call this Finca La Montana. And then I'll hit confirm. I usually like to put origin in right away. If all this information here is literally on like if you just have the Sweet Maria stuff, it's on that QR code. You could just hit that QR code, and then it'll go right to the harvest year and all that kind of information for you. If you have a moisture meter, you could put the moisture percentage in here. If you did a density test, you could put the density values in there. But yeah, anyways, you could hit save. And then you want to like click on that and then confirm it. And then green weight, of course, how many are you going to do? What is your plan? So you don't, I don't know, usually you don't just wing how many grams of beans you're going to put in. So I'm just going to put 150. Got the plan weight I want to try. This machine, I think, goes up to, I thought I saw something that said 50 grams to 200 grams. So either way, it's what you want to put in there. This environmental info, it should update on its own. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So start off with manual roast. I wouldn't necessarily start off with auto roasting yet, because you probably want to get a good manual roast in. All right, so we'll hit start manual, and then you can hit preheating.
Preheat flow. Power adjusted.
When you're
to
doing
100%.
preheating, you got to set up a little target temperature. So I'm gonna set up to 200. I'll probably turn the fan on as well. It kind of defaults jump to 40. I didn't realize that, so I'm just gonna put it back to 80. Good, and that's working. That's working. All things you want to do, always check. Just make it a good habit when you're roasting is check your tray. Even I know it might be your first time roasting. It's always a good idea to check it. That's also where your bean trier is at. So I've had a couple people complain that they couldn't find their trier when it was literally in this little basket. Good idea to clean that out. Make sure this is closed. A lot of people were just like had an issue, or like, oh, my bean drop thing is not closing all the way. I push it in, it doesn't close all the way. So there's kind of like 2 clicks. So 1, 2. In case you didn't, yeah, just some people didn't know that. So you think it's in the first time, but it still feels a little light. You could bump it in a second time, and that really secures it. This is the trier. So this does a pretty good job of telling you, if it's up collecting beans, or you need to put it in the down position to where the beans just fall away from it. Don't leave this up. That's a good way of like just messing up the beans in terms of like in the drum, because it won't be able to skirt around, and then you'll just get a bunch of burnt beans that way if you just kind of leave it up in here. It just usually just catches the beans. It's stuck in there, and then it just sometimes it can catch a fire, which is kind of interesting depending on the type of roaster you have. There's a shoe. I don't have my front tray on, so I really don't like it. And then they got here, just when you want to drop your beans, you just pull that up. If your first time roasting with it, I think they usually recommend seasoning it for your roaster. So if it is your first time roasting, don't use like your geishas or your pink bourbones that you spent a lot of money on. Just get some, like, I don't know. Some people buy seasoning beans from Mr. or Captain's Coffee. You can use those, which are really just a grab bag of beans that people use just to season up their machines. I believe people like to season up their drums just so that it's able to it helps with like thermal stability. Depending on the type of roaster it is. So especially with conduction and convection roasters, or any kind of drum roasters where the beans are hitting a hot surface, it would be good to kind of season that so you don't have like, because it changes the temperature on the drum when it gets a little darker, and hence why people are seasoning it. So another reason why you want to season your M1 Lite for the first time. Anyways, we're gonna let this run. There's people that like to say, you know, you gotta preheat for like 45 minutes. I don't. I preheat for like 10 or 15, but you just preheat to what you want. Some people like to have their bean temperature and their environmental temperature match. I mean, just preheat the way you want to preheat. My tablet's connected via Bluetooth. If I disconnect it, then you'll lose the screen. I'm using a program called Screen Copy, so you can see the screen on my computer. So you can see the screen. But it's not serially connected. It's connected via Bluetooth. Although, if you were handy enough, you could definitely make a well, it already does that for you technically. If you want to do serial connection, they don't have serial connection like a straight up serial connection on the Hibean map yet. They're working on that later. That's later in their timeline. Anyways, we're gonna warm this up for a few minutes. I'm gonna kind of show you like I'm gonna do a seasoning roast on this, aka I'm gonna pretend like this is my first roast and I didn't really try to read up on anything. So I'm gonna just put like random, like not random, but I'll put in like the heater percentage I think most beginners might try out, and then kind of show you what happens there, and then you'll take note. The biggest thing you'll note is like how fast this will get you through to first crack, and how you might have to adjust your heat percentage when you're using this roaster. But yeah, so there it is. It's heating up. It's on the preheat. It's actually doing a good job to 205. If you want to lower it, you could do 200. So right now, it should lower. Yeah, that goes. It's going to lower. You can tell if you hit here and you notice that auto heating is not on. That's fine. Yeah, you can leave it right there. It'll hit that temperature, and this thing shouldn't go, the heater shouldn't move around. I know some people are having issues where the heater was dropping to 65 and then coming back up. I think they might have fixed that one. I had the issue initially, but then I would just mess with this target temperature. Because a lot of time people weren't setting up like the target temperature. Like if you like decide to leave this at like, let's say, I don't know, 185. It automatically kind of just turns it off because it's already over the 185 degrees. So that's like the PID system kind of working. I'll keep it at 2, but as soon as you set it to 200, that should turn on right away. The roaster, yeah, you're correct. This roaster is a blowtorch. If you just keep it at like 100%, especially, I usually start at like 60 for 200 grams or 70 at 200 grams, or 150. I might start at like, I think I've been starting at 60, 55. Like I'll get to my charge temp and then I'll drop my heater down to like 50 or 60. I think when I was in the 70s, 85s, 90, I did 90, and I think I had a 5-minute roast. That was pretty crazy. So I definitely don't recommend setting up those high values, but I'll kind of show you what happens when you do like set it up at, maybe you think, oh, maybe 150 grams at 70 heater is good. Kind of see why it's not. It might not be a good idea depending on what the type of beans you're roasting or the style you're roasting. And then I'm just assuming that you already have this thing set up. A lot of people had issues with this. I thought it was great how they set up. It's a really great way of like cost savings, I think. Having the person set it up. It's not like it's a complicated build. Only thing I wish is there's like a little handle I could hold right here. Anyways, we're gonna let that go. I think that's enough time. I'm gonna measure out my beans. I'm gonna let that run. Probably turn my fan up a little bit. So I'm gonna do a 150 gram batch. I don't mind if these beans like don't come out that great. I kind of want to do a comparison of like convection versus radiant heat and how you could spot the differences. So I'm gonna do 150 grams on this. Yeah, it's holding it at 100%, but it's still, it doesn't, if it hits 200, it's like bang bang high, it's like bang bang hysteresis. So right now it's like, as soon as it hits 200, it just turns it off. It's running its little PID system. Although I don't think it's bang bang. I think it's just the PID. Because if you put it over, it's going to just get it back to 100. Yeah, if you go over 225, it goes back to straight up 100 because it wants to reach the 225. I'm going to leave it at 2 because that's what I like to charge at. And then once I hit charge, I'll probably change the heater percentage. A lot of people had the issue where like it wasn't changing that much at all. And one was one of the bugs was it goes back to 45. So that goes on and off. There it goes. You also can see what command is being sent on here. And you can enter your own commands if you want. I have a command list somewhere. Because I know, I believe in Artisan, there's a command where you hit auto on or manual. And auto on, it goes by SV. So I think when you set it up to here, like say if I hit 220, it's going to probably pop up to 100. Let me hit this first. Target temp up. See, is it going up and down? Ugh. You auto heat. Or I can just put that command in. Where is it? Yeah, they don't like sharing that command list. I don't know why, but you can. I have the list somewhere. Where did I put it? Yeah, they have a list somewhere. I put it. So where? Let me put this back to 100. Da, 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 da. So it hit 200. Let's set that up to 2. So set it to 0. Now it's going back to 100, so it can reach up to 210. But I think that's how you would set it to manual mode. Because if you look at the artisan commands, you can see that if you click auto, it does this thing where it tries to reach this temperature doing by when you adjust the SV value. But then there's the manual mode. I can't remember if Will did it that way. I don't know how Will wants to do it, to be honest. Like, I don't know if he wants to set it up to where, and Will's the guy who does Hibean. I think he said he just wants you to be able to click it, and then it'll tell you this, and then it goes into manual mode. I think that's how he wanted it programmed. I'll put this back to 200. Yeah. And it says like it's at 85 on the heater on. Oh, I think that's still the bug because it's off. But if I were to set it to like 210 again, just ramp up the heat back to where it could get back to 210. I'll keep it to 200. Let's just turn it back off. I think he just needs to put a button that just says manual mode. Just hit that. It might make it easier. I'll talk to Will, see what he wants to do. Anyways, I'm just gonna roast now. I'm gonna keep it at one value. I think I'm just gonna keep it at like, I'm gonna do 65. Is it still heating it up to 200? Charge.
Automation triggered. Set PID value
Drop
to
the beans.
220.0
Set it to
degrees
65.
Celsius.
Nope, don't know I did that. Actually, I do want it to go over to 220. What am I doing? Oh, and the fan's really low. I gotta set my automations and keep it that low. Ah. Am I still using the buggy one on this? Might be. Anyways. All right. So yeah, you might have to mess with the buttons a few times. I'm gonna do this for this roast. This is just for me to showcase. Don't do this. Like what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep my heater at 65. Some people just kind of keep it to 1% for the first roast because their first time roasting, kind of don't know what you're doing. You kind of just want to buy this thing, you want to get going. I'll kind of show you what kind of happens and what you can see. And this kind of helps me show other people. Like the difference between like a convection and a radiant heat, ROR. And I'll show you there's a huge difference. A big difference. Their RORs are completely different. The heat transfer type is completely different. And I kind of like showcasing this with the Kaleidos because they're convection heat roasters. So, you could do a little test where if you set heater and fan to the same settings and you kind of just let it run, you can kind of see that naturally the ROR shape will be declining over time. Where if you were to compare it to like a Skywalker V1, that ROR actually plateaus if you leave it at the same heater and fan speed. In Morton Munch House, I think that's how you say his name. Morton Munchhouse and Rob Husall kind of came up, like pretty much the same. And what's her name? There's another lady, Roaster Cat. Anyways, they all kind of mentioned the same thing. Like your ROR curve, it will naturally decline over time. If you leave the settings the same. But anyways, I'll kind of show you like the things to kind of look out for, because right now we're blazing through this thing, right? We're at like 147 degrees, around 155, 160 degrees Celsius is the yellowing phase. So you hit the dry end button, then you would go to the Maillard phase next. We are at like 3 minutes 18 seconds, kind of breezing through at 65. Imagine if you put it to 85 or 95, you would be you'd be off to the races. And that's how a lot of people were getting like 5-minute roasts on this. And here when people talk about is it like dry end, what you're doing is you're opening this up, you're looking at the bean. I might bump up the speed on this. And you're just kind of looking if you could smell it too. You get certain smells like, oh, it smells a little sweet, or it's getting a little bit of like bread or kind of those kind of scents. But mostly you're looking for the yellow. So once it hits that yellow, I'm already late. I'll show you how to adjust your temperatures if you're late like me, because technically 160, 159 is probably when the yellowing phase occurred, or when it started turning yellow. So you already jumped to 179. We're not going to spend any time in this in this part. If we're already at one. Well, I think if these beans have first crack at 190, we will. And I'm just gonna run it. I'm probably gonna get weird smoky flavors out of this, but this is quote unquote my first roast on this, so I don't know what the consensus is on seasoning beans too. Some people are telling me just try it just to try it, and other people are telling me, it gets all the factory fluids on there. You don't want to do that. I'm a fan of trying it, so. Yeah. See, over time, it just on the convection, the heat of the air is transferring over to the bean, so you are having like those changes in the heat, which causes this like ROR curve to decline over time a little bit. When you see it go up like that, that's sometimes an indication that first crack is happening. Yeah, there it goes. Wow, I sound like a pro, but that's the one part of first crack. First crack is, I like to call a chorus, so it's not just pop, it's pop, 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 pop. That's first crack. You can kind of hear the popping going on, and this is literally like I said, this is just convection, standard convection, like ROR. It's declining over time. The increase, that bump, that's just the first crack happening, right? So what is first crack? It's the cellulose breaking down, the pressure of the steam popping out of the beans, and what's occurring is an exothermic reaction. So of course it's going to jump up. Rob Hoos was like telling, I don't want to sound like I'm fancy, but reading his things and everything is like, that's not too big thing of worry. People constantly worry about these flicks and crashes. But even those flicks and crashes aren't really that big of a deal. A lot of people think they could taste like each flick and crash, but all these production roasters I talk to, they're like, the ones who don't really believe in like the flick and crash, they could have a bunch and they still could have a quality coffee. So I'm gonna drop this at 1 minute and 30 seconds, but shooting back up. Maybe I'll go medium. Actually, this might carry into second crack. So hot. You know what? I haven't done second crack, so let's see what second crack sounds like. So second crack definitely sounds a little different. Rice Krispie treats is what I hear, is what second crack usually sounds like. And it's more vigorous than the first crack. Second crack is like Rice Krispies, and then you can also tell another exothermic reaction is happening. And this is when the smoke comes out. So we're in like second crack, so this will be a dark roast. Anyways, it's gonna smoke up my garage. I didn't put my airwave on, so I'm just gonna drop these now.
Automation triggered. Set fan speed to 100%.
Oh yeah, that is a good. I should open my garage. All right. I forgot. I should have turned my airwave on. Anyways, so that's definitely I'm in dark territory. Once I reach second crack so fast that you could tell exactly where second crack kind of occurs on the line is when there's like a little bit of another just increase, and it just skyrockets because it's another exothermic reaction. Anyways, so you're done. Say you're shooting for second crack. This is probably not the greatest roast to follow because it's really quick. If you're dark roast at 8 minutes and 38 seconds, that's kind of impressive. Anyways, that's why I kind of like this machine. It has so much power. Anyways, right now we're gonna go to complete log. Remember I was talking about like I fucked up. I didn't put D at the right time. You can always edit it right here. See a little pencil. You kind of want to look for this, and then you want to just kind of shift it back a little bit. So I'm gonna say bean temperatures are 150. We'll say 159.8 or something. So yeah. So now I'm yeah, so I changed it back to like 159. We go back a little bit further. I think you can adjust it here too. Now, just here. So just let's pretend like I wanted it at this range. I'll move it to move the slider or the button down the on the x-axis. And then yeah, so if you say, oh, I missed first crack was actually at this time, then you just move these little dots. I didn't hit second crack, so I wonder if I could add second crack to this. I don't think I can. I forgot to hit second crack button when it came. But you can actually tell where second crack occurs because I think right here when I was talking about a second crack, you could hear the popping really going on, and then you could just see it the temperature skyrocketing because that's some more steam being jumped out of the beans. So yeah, all right. So now we did all that. We're gonna hit save. Now you could go through your roast, add certain things if you need to. Roast level, if you got one, you could do it by by eye. So let's say where this is gonna be dark. Or if you're fancy and you want to use your color meter, you could use this. You could do manual input if you're like me and have a roast meter, one of these. Where did I put my roast meter? I have like a little build it yourself roast meter that you could build for like $80. It kind of gives you like agtron values. And then or you could do surface color. Interestingly enough, I was listening to Rob Hoos recently talk about like using surface color more when you're trying to share what roast level it is with different people, because if you do it by ground, if you grind it and then you would measure it on your agtron, then you would have to specify what equipment you're using, and then what grind level it's at. Or if you have it as like a bean surface color whole, then you don't have to have the aspect of telling that person I ground with a niche zero, an ode fellow or a fellow ode two. Or what is this, the ZP6 or whatever. You don't have to tell people that. You could just be like, this is the surface color, and you can do it here if you want to, by eye. Some people like to do it by eye. Some people say, why do I have to pay $500 when I could use my eyes to show you what color it is. Going through the log. Yeah, there. Weight loss. Remember, measuring your weight is always free. So feel free to always like measure it at the end of a roast. So that's what I'm going to do. Free data. Ooh, this is a oily sucker. This is very oily. This is going to be very nice for espresso. So I got 119. I went from 150 to 119. Oh, I did put one. Yeah, 119. So I got 20%. So that's dark. You can put your roast notes in. Said, went dark. Forgot first crack. I'll look through the video and I'll actually add what night first crack was. Confirm. All right. Now here's one of the best parts. Italian roast. Yeah. Here's one of the best parts you could do is if you have a Rolo or any kind of label printer set up, you could connect it, do label designer, have the QR code. This is great for me when I'm doing my evaluations and trying to do different tastings at different profiles. Like right now I'm doing plateauing ROR versus declining ROR. I could keep track of all this stuff. It has a QR code I could fall back onto. And then you could add whatever data you want. The roast notes, you could put custom notes in, development phase, like whatever you want in there. And then you could either download this. For me, I have it set up to my printer, so I'll just go pit print and then find my Rolo. My Rolo might be disconnected right now, but yeah. I might not have plugged it in. Anyways, you could connect to the Rolo like that if you want to, and then it should print out. Or you could just, check out a where is it? Oops. Or you could just check out a PDF and then save it, and then you could save it to like your Google Drive, and then print it out on your Rolo printer that way. I like just printing it directly from here, so I print as soon as I print it out, I just slap a label on it. I don't think I plugged it in. That's my fault. There, oh, there it is. It's a little finicky right now. They're still working on it. Yeah, it's kind of annoying. But they're still working on it. Or you could just save it as a PDF. Oh, index card? Not it is all over the place. Oh, this might be it. Yeah, it won't print. Anyways, yeah, I could print it in like 4x6 that way. I'm gonna save the PDF. I'm just trying to get it to print. Oh well. Will said he's still working on improving that. I'm just gonna save it to my drive. Uploads it there. I'll print it out there on my computer later. Anyways, another thing I recommend doing is sharing it. Share it for the whole world to see. Decided to say, went dark. Tony Montana. Make sure you have Sniper M1 Lite so people could see, and then you could share it with other folks. And then go back, make sure that's all correct, and share. And that's it. And then you can go back, check out the community. Yeah, it's probably gonna take a while to load, but it's gonna upload it, and then it could kind of show you what happened during that roast. Ooh, okay. Internet connections been weird. And if you want to, for some reason, you just need to show a roast video of it. This will generate a roast video that you could share with people. If you're presenting, I guess. I thought it was cool. People are like, why what does this do that a still picture can't like tell me? But I think it's kind of cool. You could go through the roast and see what the reaction was when you changed your settings. Like this wouldn't be useless because I didn't change any of the settings, right? So anyways, that's it. And then yeah, and if you want to refer back to that roast, you can always restart this. I gotta let that generate. Get out of there, exit. And if you want to, you could go, if you're on like this kick where you're trying to roast the same bean over and over again, you could do a default profile. Oops. Go to your reference curve, hit select, pick out the last one you had, and then there you go. So if you wanted to replicate that roast, which you really don't need much replication, I kept it at 1 temperature the whole time. Anyways, that's it. Real quick, I just wanted to get that out the way for people who wanted to use Hibean right now. So a little bit of bugs here and there. You might have to click the heater button and fan button on and off, and you might have to hit the target temperature on and off a few times so it won't move the heat settings around. So just let me or Will know, and he could try to figure it out. I'm just gonna tell him. Anyways, thanks for joining. Hopefully, I'll see you again.